Well, so what did you end up doing on Valentine's? I know you went to Colorado. Was it a special trip?
Yeah, it's a special trip. It was like, get me out of the house or I'm gonna kill you, kind of thing. It was very special, very loving, very.
We ended up doing takeout at our traditional Valentine's Day steakhouse. So I can't sit for too long of periods of time yet without much discomfort, and they've got like wood plank booths.
You
They're
guys
still
went to a you
delicious.
went to a steakhouse for Valentine's?
Oh yeah.
That is so old school, and in a good way. That's so.
Well,
I,
when I first met my wife, and I was trying to get to know her, and I asked her, hey, what's your favorite food? She said cow. So,
Good answer.
this,
As I
to
always
be
say,
honest, this steakhouse is better than any I've ever eaten. I've eaten at Morton's, Ruth's Chris, um, several other big name ones. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, way better and way less expensive.
so for those of you that are actually out there looking for that Valentine late, that one bit of advice I can give you, that's true evidence of like somebody's character, is I always say don't trust a woman that doesn't eat meat. That's like one of my rules. So okay, you don't like beef,
Isn't
cool.
your old lady a vegetarian?
No, I've never dated a vegetarian. My ex girlfriend wouldn't eat beef or pork, but she ate chicken and turkey.
Gotcha.
I mean, but that's still meat, you know. So if she doesn't eat fish, she doesn't eat beef, she doesn't eat pork, she doesn't eat turkey, she doesn't eat any of that shit. I'm sorry. She may be pretty, she may smell nice, but you should just walk on down the road. Especially if you're, well, I don't think there's many vegans that listen to this channel or vegetarians, but
I don't think there's many people that listen to this channel yet.
but that being
Anyhow,
said, I would never date somebody that didn't eat meat. That's just I can't trust you. You don't eat meat. You know what that means? That means that you're not going to eat my meat. And okay, maybe I went too far there.
all right then. On that note,
So you went to a steakhouse. Did you get your old woman anything special?
no, just the usual.
Hmm. Yeah, I went to Colorado, dude. Ran into the front as we were like getting ready to leave New Mexico. She's like, "Why is it all gray over there?" I was like, "That is a front." It's just, and then the next thing you know, you hit it, and you see like a little thermometer in the truck. It's like 50 something, and then it's like 20 something. But the drive up there was pretty good, and when we got there, it was good. But then as it progressed on, at one point it was like -11, and the worst part was it wasn't windy. And usually that's when you notice how cold you are, is when the wind is blowing. And it was fucking cold. And on the way back, just to shorten it up, way back, the roads were iced. So I took a detour, and the detour was 70 miles long, and that road was covered in ice. So I went like 25 miles an hour the entire time. That was a long detour. I will not be doing that again.
Oh, is what it is.
Mm.
So again, on that note, welcome
Yes.
to the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Hopefully you guys had
All
a.
five people, six people now.
Hopefully they had a great Valentine's Day or great President's Day, whichever. Mm. So
Now,
speak. Go
if
ahead.
all the presidents are being canceled,
Mm-hmm.
can we still have President's Day?
Well, our overlords are going to take the presidents off the money, and then they'll put new figureheads that are like presidents on there. So maybe Louis Farrakhan will be on there. You know, maybe AOC will be on like a $3 bill. I mean, who knows? Nancy Pelosi, she'll be on a dollar bill sometime. I don't
Well,
know.
Feinstein got canceled, so
Yeah, it's funny, right? That you say the cancellation because that was they took the school, right? They took the name
yep,
off the school.
yep.
Well, that was kind of warranted though. Like she was not a good person.
Well, she's not a good person. Should have never had a school named after her. But
Mm-hmm.
still, I mean,
I
what's
mean,
the point? I mean, the reason she was canceled was because She didn't, or she when she was mayor of San Francisco, she allowed a Confederate flag to be flown or something. I
Oh,
don't know.
I'm glad you gave me the. I had no reason why they canceled her. I just know that she was one of those people that had a Chinese spy driving her to work, and here she is, still in office, still holding positions.
Well, yeah, but they're they're changing the name of Lincoln High School and
Mm,
stuff like that too. I don't
mm-hmm.
know. It's all dumb.
It.
It's and they're pushing to have this all the names changed and everything changed at the schools by April, but still don't want to open them up until like the fall.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
Anyhow, on to bigger and better things. How about that Mars rover just landed?
Hmm.
You know, something better. You know, a feat of mankind to lift our spirits in this overly divisive world.
Is it though? Is it really though? I
I
mean,
know you're oppressing the Martians soon, and
yes.
there'll be people complaining about it. But
We're gonna find life over there. We're gonna try to find oil or something over there. Only the elites will be allowed to go over there, which I'm actually quite cool with. You know, if like half of
how about
Hollywood
we send all the politicians there?
and Hollywood and academia, all
Yeah, we won't
this,
get movies in.
I'm cool. I'm totally cool with that. I am totally cool with that.
Yeah, there's some good movies.
Okay,
I'm one of those. I'm one of the people who believes in the whole. You can appreciate the art, but not necessarily artists.
oh yeah, 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 for sure. So,
I mean,
so
Stephen King, for instance. He's got some great books, and
Wacko,
they've been made
yes.
into great movies. But his political views are not in line with mine, and he makes some statements and things that
Would
I
you
personally find offensive. But so enjoy the artist
would
or
you put
enjoy the art.
would you put him up there with Bill Gates?
What do you mean?
Would you put like his level of nonsensical ideology? Would you put it up there with Bill Gates? You know, the
Dude,
guy.
Bill Gates fucking gave us Windows Vista, Windows Millennium, and I'm going to trust that dude. I'm not going to trust anything he puts out at least until the second or third revision.
So you're gonna wait for the second or third revision of synthetic beef?
Yes,
Oh, okay. See how that steakhouse tastes in
I
2025.
know. We'll see. It may they may get to a point where it's decent enough. They may not, but um,
Are
I'm
you
not
gonna?
I'm not completely discounting it. I'm not completely writing it off, and I wouldn't object to a more humanitarian way of providing protein as long as it tastes the same. But
So
if it comes out like shit, then no, I'm not going to buy that.
okay. So would you? Are you in line to get the vaccine?
Fuck no.
So you're
I'm
not
not
gonna
going to
you're,
wait.
you're, you're not gonna take an experimental vaccine, but you're gonna take experimental
Nope.
beef.
Nope. That's why I said second or third revision, and the vaccine second or third revision. Then I'll consider it. That's the
Mm,
thing. I'm
mm.
not anti-vaccines.
I'm not saying you are.
Um,
That's not what I'm
and
saying.
I am, however, anti-mandatory vaccines. I believe people have the right to um, decide what does get stuck in them.
You are right in a sense. I agree, but like there's that mandatory list of vaccines to go to public school. So
Yeah, I'm pretty much anti-public school now too.
I mean I am too, but
Have
I'm
you seen the
saying,
garbage they teach you there?
are we going down? Do you want to go down this rabbit hole? Because yes, I have seen all of that shit. I mean, what was the latest one? They were talking about the mathematics. They were the Oregon, some state commission on education just decided that we're basically going to tear down like fucking arithmetic math and
and
and and
and
couple
showing your work is racist,
and
or
showing.
requesting students show their work is racist.
I don't. What is wrong with that? What is wrong? I hated doing it because sometimes you could look at a problem and you could just write the answer down. But you know what that teaches you to do at a young age? It teaches you to go through the steps, because as right as you may feel about something, if you don't physically, especially like when I do my normal job and I work in a laboratory, if I'm not writing down what this check was, what it was before I adjusted it, what it was after I adjusted it, what it was when I went through like there's certain things that it just teaches you a process a scientific process almost, which we're about to throw out the fucking window pretty goddamn soon.
Science is racist now too.
Science is racist because we have a scientific process, and that's based on white ideology, like being on time and adventurism and individualism and responsibility and all that other stuff that's racist. It's a wonderful wonderful world to be living in these days. But back on the rover. Tell me more about the rover. I didn't do a lot of research about it. I did hear about it.
No, it just landed. I watched the landing. Everybody at NASA was excited.
Was this NASA or SpaceX or a collab?
NASA.
Okay. So they beat Elon Musk to Mars.
Well, they've been to Mars already. They had the Curiosity and what was the other one? But this is just the new rover to explore Mars.
Mm-hmm. So I will say, I mean, what we got ice caps in Mars, right? Is that what it is? Ice caps so far. The closest relative to Earth as far as temperature, as far as days and nights, as far as atmosphere. Is that correct?
Not as close. Not atmosphere. I don't believe.
But I mean, when you compare it to Venus, or you compare it to Mercury, or you compare it to fucking Jupiter or Saturn, it is like the next closest thing to Earth.
I believe. If I don't recall, this is like an old memory, but I believe they thought. Oh God! One of the moons around Jupiter or Saturn had an oxygen atmosphere.
But that's too far away from the sun, though.
Yeah, probably.
And you got to remember, like, if that thing is orbiting Jupiter, that is a long night, bro. That is a long fucking night. I will take my chances with being the gracious person I am. I would take my chances of sending all our celebrities and politicians to Mars. You know,
I'd go.
I'd hate to see you go, but I'd love to watch you leave.
I think it'd be fun to experience something like that. That the great unknown.
If only you could have been born 200 years ago. Nobody's been to Oregon or Washington. Let me just go, oh my gosh, there's these natives and they're shooting at me, and now my wife has cholera, and I can't
died of
find
dysentery
anything.
on the trail.
Yes, and I can't find anything to eat. What is going on with me? I guess, that's it. That is exciting. I go camping quite regularly, so it's probably not as exciting for me. And it's Boy Scouts with guns. So, and they found quite a few years ago. They found like bacteria or some kind of organism living in the ice, right? Or not living, had lived.
Yeah. See, I watched X-Files, man. I've got some serious, concerns about digging up old organisms and microbes and shit like that. That's how you get real fucking pandemics. When you get some like old germ that nobody has immunity to, that's actually deadly. And you dig this thing up. Oh, look at this! What did we find down here? And it's suddenly heated up back out in the open, and next thing you know, we've got fucking alien mutants running around that you got to stab in the back of the neck.
Why not just call them the Starship Troopers? We do have the Space Force.
What Starship Troopers?
You never saw that movie?
No, I'm asking you what's the relation to it to what I was saying. This is X-Files, not Starship Troopers.
Oh, well, we're talking
X-Files shit. We're not fighting bugs.
Oh, okay. So we're just okay.
And read the book.
Read what book? Which book?
Starship Troopers.
Bro, I love the gym too much. I work too much. I take care of the family, and I like playing video games. So when I have a child,
so reading's out.
No, it's not out. I mean, I read a lot as a child, as an adolescent, as a teen. There was a point when I was in high school that I actually I quit reading. You know why I quit reading?
Girls.
No. I wasn't into girls until I was like out of high school. Like, I mean, I liked them, but I didn't talk to them. I didn't, I look back at it, I'm like, man, I totally could have like made out with that chick, maybe more, because they're like giving you all the signals, and I'm like, oh, but I was just, no. public schools. That's why I quit reading. So during the summer, my dad used to take me to the library, and I used to go check out a bunch of books, and I read what I wanted to read. I would read, not Stephen King, God no. I just didn't. That wasn't my genre. I would read Michael Crichton. I would read John Grisham. I would read.
What was your favorite Crichton book?
Honestly, the first Jurassic Park was good. The second Jurassic Park was good. And they slaughtered both the movies. Andromeda Strain was okay. Airframe was okay. I mean,
Eaters of the Dead, dude. They made that into a
Congo
movie.
was okay, but
They
Eaters.
made
I
that
didn't.
into
I didn't read Eaters of the Dead. I didn't get
dude. They
that
made
far.
that. What the fuck? What was that? 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Which
I
which
didn't read it.
they did a pretty decent job of it, but the book was phenomenal. Which it's basically Beowulf, just a different version of it.
But you know what's funny about that, right? What's funny is Crichton wrote a lot of science fiction books, right? Basically, and I didn't. I don't like science fiction like movies. I don't watch Star Trek. I don't. I don't. I haven't watched all the Star Wars. What is the like Stargate, like all these like cultish kind of things. I say it with like a term of endearment. I don't want to like, but like I don't. I'm not really interested in that. I used to read a lot of who's the oh my Tom Clancy. I would read like spy shit, Tom Clancy. I would read lawyer shit like John Grisham, and I would read Crichton. I read a little bit of Louis L'Amour. I liked his shit, and one more
You
author.
would.
Well, dude, Louis L'Amour has written some good books. Okay, and there was one more. I cannot. I will think of it at the end of the fucking cast. But ultimately, what happens is you go to public school, right? And throughout your 4 years of high school, they make you read like some kind of fucking Shakespeare shit, right? I don't really care for Shakespeare. You know,
Well,
okay,
you'll be pleased to learn that Shakespeare's being canceled
he's
too.
also being canceled too. But the problem was that wasn't the problem. Oh, okay, I got to do it. I'm gonna do it. The problem was the summer reading program that they made us do, and the summer reading program was like, here's a list of books. You have to read two or three of them during the summer. And during the summer is when I read a lot of the shit I wanted to read. And so instead of like enjoying something, like imagine if I left you like a libertarianism. I left you to your own devices, Darian, and I'm like, you know what? Do what you want to do. So you're like, you know what? I'm gonna start a farm. I'm gonna start a garden, grow it into a farm. And so you start growing fucking sweet potatoes, or you start growing, and then all of a sudden I come in, and I'm like, okay, you can continue to grow that farm, but we need you to grow this shit. And maybe that shit isn't what you enjoy because maybe you got to pick more weeds, or maybe you got to fertilize more. It's just the books they told me to that I had to read, I didn't enjoy. So at that point, I just hung up reading. I straight up did. It was like my sophomore year. I was like, you know what, whatever. But up until third grade, until 10th grade, like, dude, I was like accelerated reader pro. I'd be taking those tests where you get like the points and you get pizza certificates and you get like, and plus I read what I wanted to read, and it was like a win-win, and it was beautiful, you know. But I will probably get back into that once the baby comes and I'm just sitting there with a baby on my lap and I have nothing else to do. You know, that's just that's what I foresee. I don't know what. First of all, I was going to ask you because you were talking about celebrities and you're going to miss movies. What was the last good movie you saw?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't. They don't really stick in my brain that much. I'm just thinking about other stuff, but
What was the last good
oh,
book you read?
uh, Infidels of the Garden of Mesopotamia.
Okay.
um, that was a pretty good one. I read. That's not fiction though. Art of Invisibility was another good one I recently read, which also is not fiction.
Hmm.
Um, but that's movie. That's a tough one.
I can't
I don't
even
really.
think.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? What's the last greatest TV series you watched? Like,
Oh God.
do you?
Probably. And I'm. Oh God, what was it? I see the faces. The Good Place.
Good Place.
The Good
Isn't that
Place.
isn't it a horror movie?
Nope. It was it's got Ted Danson and the blonde chick married to Dax Shepard. God, what is her name? She's in all sorts of stuff. She was the voice of Elsa. Kristen, not Kristen Dunst. Um, yeah, I don't know. The Good Place
The Good Place was the
probably the
last good show you saw, or
yeah,
movie.
last good
Is it a movie or?
TV show
All right, well,
series.
I will tell you the last good TV series I saw. I'm still waiting on the last season. I think Ozark is pretty good. I have like this list of TV series. Sons of Anarchy's in there, Breaking Bad's in there, Game of Thrones is in there.
Game of Thrones was great in the very beginning, and then
It
they started going
was.
off the rails.
They did. They did. No, they did. But
And
Ozark.
Sons of Anarchy, I thought it was a really great one too, but it too kind of started going off the rails a little bit, and um, I wasn't particularly fond of how they ended it.
I mean, there's no other way you can end it. To be honest, I think the way that they ended it was kind of sad because maybe they could have done it in like 6 seasons. Cut out season 3. Nobody cares about like the Irish heritage. That doesn't really advance the narrative of the story too much. You could
No,
probably,
that all had all Abel's kidnapping and stuff. That was good.
but I'm saying like I think if it was Jax, right? Jax. It was funny was so we're on the drive to Colorado and the woman's like thinking of like she just like wants to name baby names. So now she's into baby names and I was just saying you should come
I
up
think
with.
Darian's a good name.
I said the stipulation was not that my input matters. I said I think if it's gonna be a girl, it should have a J name because it's gonna be a daddy's girl, right? If it's gonna be a boy, it's probably gonna be a mama's boy. I mean, and you should give it a T name, right? And then out of nowhere, she goes, you know what? I think Jackson's a really good name. I was like, Jackson? That's like a last name. She's like, no, like with an X. And I'm like, okay.
Oh God.
And I said, what would his middle name be? She's like, I don't know, probably like something with a T. And I was like, you do realize like the main character of Sons of Anarchy, his name was Jackson Teller, right? Am I wrong? I said that, and she just kind of looked at me. I was like, it's a really good series. You should watch it. So,
Oh, so your kid's not going to be named Jackson after she watches the series.
but the thing was, Jackson Teller had a lot of shit. Like, imagine being that guy's age and finding out everything. Finding out about his dad, finding out about his stepdad, his mom, finding out about his, all the shit he found out about. And then, like, you watch this guy. He's a really good guy. He's kind of naive. He's in this biker gang, and then he slowly corrupts. Right? He corrupts, and finally at the end, I guess the way he atones for all this shit, so that his son, right, doesn't become like he's just he does all this stuff, and then he does what he does, right, and it's sad, but it makes a lot of sense. In fact, they closed out that series better than they closed out Dexter, which was another one of my series. That's what the other
Oh
one was.
God, yeah, Dexter was a horrible ending.
Dexter, they could have closed out better, and I don't know why they did it that way. They closed it out. Dexter seemed rushed, just like Game of Thrones
Well,
seemed rushed.
they're coming out with another season of Dexter, I believe.
Mm.
I
Well, he
believe they're
did. He did.
rebooting
He
that.
did end up living, right? He moved to like Oregon or some shit, or Washington,
I thought it was Alaska, but yeah.
somewhere in the Northwest. But they like the way they ended Game of Thrones, it was rushed. It was terrible, but it was overall a good series. And the way they ended Dexter, it was rushed. It was ending was terrible, but overall was a good series.
You know what? For TV series endings, I think, and I stand by this. I think the best ending I've ever from any series was 6 Feet Under.
Never seen it. Never heard of it.
It's a good one. It was HBO or Showtime, HBO, about a funeral home. The owners of a funeral home and their
Oh, well,
lives and
something you
stuff.
could totally relate to.
Well, sorta. I mean, I'm the type that I like my episodes more Well, episodic, where they've got the stories in that episode, and then they can have the overstory, the big arc, lightly covered in it. But it after the first couple seasons, it stopped being like that and was all like a soap opera.
I hate that. Somebody that speaks my language. Okay, are you a Trekkie?
In fact, we are rewatching the original series right now.
Okay, you know what I missed about the old Star Treks? Okay, so the old Star Treks, if you look at like the original, you look at the Next Generation, because those are the only two I've really watched. I didn't watch Enterprise, I didn't watch Deep Space Nine, but
You
I
should
know,
watch Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was really good. My
and
wife is going through Enterprise right now too, and she says it's good. I might give that one a go.
and I didn't watch Voyager. So, but what Star Trek did is it basically they were all encapsulating episodes. There was no overarching thing, right? So you have series like a TV series where there's an overarching theme, and you have each episode builds up to the end of the season, right? And then you have other series where every episode is its own episode, right? So if it was a 10 series, it was a 10 episode series. All those 10 episodes would just so if you missed an episode, you might miss some shit, you know.
Yeah.
So if basically you missed an episode, then you'd be like, hey, dude, what happened last night? Oh, Worf did this, and it didn't really matter unless it was like a two part series. You know what I mean? But what they did with Star Trek, like Picard, and they did with Star Trek, because those are the ones I've actually been watching, and Star Trek Discovery, is they changed the way that Star Trek was. So on top of like the SJW bullshit, right? The shit that you have to watch because we got to make sure that there's a gay, trans, Native American, black person doing something, right? Which I whatever, cool. But they turned Star Trek from like watching an episode at a time, like you could miss episode 302, go watch 303, not miss anything, because 303, Picard goes to another planet, and 302 is a filler episode where Worf is dealing with a reactor core with Geordi, and they're locked in a room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the way they do Star Trek now is they turned it into it's an overarching. There's no independent episodes. Everything builds into the next episode, which into the next, into the next, into the next. And here's my problem with that. I'm not a Trekkie, but the woman is, so she'll fucking watch episodes when I'm not at home or I'm gaming or something, and then I'll come in and not even know what the hell is going on, right? And so like I'm like, wait, oh yeah, I watched like 2 episodes, and then I go back and look, and she's watched like 4 episodes without me, so I have no clue what's going on. So all I know is I could just say like the way that they do the Star Trek nowadays versus what they used to do is a little annoying because it's like I'm watching episode 7 of season 2, and I left off on episode 4, and so I didn't see the fungus queen coming in, or I didn't see something else happen, and something.
We get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all right. Cool. Sorry. Jesus Christ.
I found something you're really passionate about, though. Yes, I like those individual episodes. Yeah, I think it's better for TV, but apparently, I don't know.
Are you a Trekkie though? Is that what would you
Oh
consider
God, yeah.
you would?
I would say I like Star Trek better than Star Wars even.
Oh, hands down, hands down.
I have had like as a kid I had all the different books, the technical manuals and so on and so forth.
You know what was funny? Okay, so you're a Trekkie, right? So maybe you can relate. So the woman is a Trekkie.
By the way,
Hmm.
Khan
Yes,
of Space Seed and Wrath of Khan
correct.
launched. When did, oh shit, what was it? I think it was 2019, either 2019 or in the 90s. I don't remember. Never mind. On that note, let's take a pause. Are you recording? Well, anyhow, enough about Star Trek.
Yes. Back to more important things. like
And
life
TV shows.
and TV shows. That was a good tangent, though. I don't think we ever spent that much time talking about nothing. We
It's
should do
not
that.
nothing.
We should do it more often. What? Nothing.
God,
Nothing.
yes, we should.
We should.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Fuck.
Just random free flow conversation that might entertain others that we could record and put on
Yes.
here instead of having specific topics and guests all the time. And we just want to chat with you people.
We do. And,
Want to get to the point where we're doing this live and you guys can hop in and just give
exactly.
feedback and talk shit and tell us how horrible we are and
Bring you into the channel
cancel us live.
on his Twitch channel, his Twitch channel, his YouTube channel. So a couple of topics we had to cover. Back to presidents. What?
Well, I'm going to jump into the cancellation stuff. Speaking of cancellations,
Oh.
Somebody got big time canceled yesterday.
Yesterday. You're talking about that one.
The big cancellation.
I was going to talk about the one that got canceled between this episode and the last episode.
Which one was that?
Gina Carano.
Oh, that one too. I'm talking about the big cancellation. Like the great cancellation in the sky.
I'm waiting.
Are you jerking yourself?
I am drum rolling.
Oh, it looks like you're jerking yourself, but he claims he's drum rolling, but he's jerking himself. Rush Limbaugh.
Oh man, that is too soon,
The,
bro.
the big cancellation.
He was not canceled. He was not canceled. I continue, Darian. Continue.
No, I mean he's a very divisive individual, and there are people celebrating his death, which I think is a horrible thing. I mean, I don't give a fuck who you are. Celebrating someone's death isn't good. I mean, even when Bin Laden was killed, people like, yes, it was good that it happened, and I'm glad we moved past that, but you don't have a party kind of stuff, and there are people partying and celebrating because Rush Limbaugh died, and that kind of shit I find abhorrent. I mean, like or dislike the guy, it doesn't matter. Even John McCain is pretty, just
Darian.
have some fucking class, people.
I will agree with you on the principle of, I will say, respectable figures. I wouldn't have put Osama bin Laden in there because the guy orchestrated terrorist attacks. That's
I understand that, and it was a good thing that he was killed.
It was a good thing he was killed. Should we be celebrating that he was killed? Probably not, because human life is precious.
Exactly. That's my point. I mean, even like the most vile of individuals don't have a fucking party.
But John McCain, though. So when John McCain passed, I really didn't see as much vitriol about John McCain passing as I did with Rush Limbaugh.
I agree. Not as much vitriol, but there are still people celebrating his death.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And that was just the first one that kind of came to mind.
I find it kind of interesting because it's like for one, the guy was an American, so it's like if, as much as you don't want to admit it, anybody that's an American is a brother or sister. Like there are things that like your brothers and sisters do, like bloodline, that will piss you off, and maybe you're glad that they got in trouble or that something bad happened to them, maybe, so maybe they learn to be responsible or what have you, right? If you're hypothetically, if somebody in your family was selling drugs or doing drugs or something, and you're like, you really shouldn't do that, and then they're like, fuck you, or they're like, I'm gonna live my life, don't worry about me, and then something bad happens, you're kind of like happy in the sense that, first of all, they're not dead, okay? They're not dead. Maybe they got some prison time, or maybe they got in trouble, and you're just happy that like maybe there's like some kind of intervention there where they just kind of learn what is the right way to do things, right? But with John McCain, I will say, because I like playing contrarian, John McCain is a different beast in the sense that John McCain was an elected official, right? The guy was a senator from Arizona, and he ran for president. Uh, in the past 3 years, I've actually kind of I didn't know John McCain. I would have voted for him, but I didn't vote that election. I'm like, oh, Republican good, right? Democrat bad. Maybe at the time, probably. But there's a lot of stuff that came out about John McCain, especially in culture in the 90s that I watched, like on MMA and fighting, and I learned about a lot of the stuff where he got his campaign. And I'm not going to say the man was a saint, okay? The man was, if he wasn't in the swamp,
Well,
he was
we're not
waiting.
talking about John McCain.
Right, I know. But Rush had nothing to do with any of that. Rush was a radio personality. Rush was, he was a man with talent on loan from God, with half his brain tied behind his back, just to give the other side a fighting chance. And you would know Rush better than me. I've never met the guy, but
yeah, I wouldn't go quite that far, but
what
you know,
I don't know Rush. I've listened.
well,
to him.
I wouldn't say I know him. I've met him on a couple of occasions. He started off at a local radio station in my old hometown of Sacramento, KFBK.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him on a couple of occasions, but he was just a nice dude. You know, we didn't have any deep philosophical conversations but he was just like nice, polite, you know, seemed cheerful at the time, although this was quite a few years ago. Yeah. So whenever he talked shit about Rio Linda on his show, that was a suburb of Sacramento. So
I'm not familiar with that. Can you give me a little background on that?
Now he just would frequently reference Rio Linda as like when referring to like backwards parts of the country and like dumb hicks and stuff. He'd reference Rio Linda.
I don't know what's Real Linda.
It's a suburb of Sacramento.
Oh, okay. And the significance of that is people in Real Linda are liberal, they're conservative.
No, they're kind of dumb hicks.
They're dumb hicks. Okay. No, I'm not saying the man was. I don't think the man was a saint. But the reason I started listening to Rush 2 years ago was Rush provided something to a young whippersnapper such as myself, nothing anybody else could do. And that was like historical reference. So when I tuned into Rush, basically, there's something going on in politics. And Rush could basically tell me what happened in the 90s. Where was I in the 90s? Dude, I didn't give a fuck about politics. I was a kid. I was outside playing sports. I maybe played Nintendo. Like Rush would say, now if you remember in 1994, this guy said this, and so when he would give his take on something that was happening recently, he would give his take. I don't want to say spin. He wasn't spinning anything. He would say, this is what Nancy Pelosi said, or this is what Hillary or Bill Clinton said, and this is how it all played out. And we should be wary of what's going on now. And to me, as somebody that is not 70 years old, that's invaluable. You watch TV today? You watch the MSNBC, you watch the CNN, you watch the Fox, you watch any of those cable news networks, and they don't really give you any historical background on what they're scooping. They don't say necessarily maybe the reason that Nancy Pelosi is doing something is because of this. Maybe they just say that this is good or this is bad, and that's just kind of what you get. So, there's a lot of bad things that Rush did, maybe did or said. Maybe I'm not here to sit there and But the thing I respected Rush was the guy lived long enough to fucking tell me the story of what happened before I was alive to realize what was going on. And I told my dad, I said, "Yeah, man, you should listen to this Rush segment." He had a podcast, and he's like, "I fucking hate Rush." And I'm like, "Well, dude, hate the guy, but when I was growing up, I sure as hell wouldn't tell my 12-year-old what's going on in politics. Like, let the 12-year-old be a 12-year-old. Let the kid be a kid. Let him go out and play sports. Let him go out and have friends. Let him go out and have a life." When the guy
Well, now
hits,
they got to be indoctrinated.
well, now if you're a certain, yes, but me, I'm gonna let my kid live his or her life. That's
You're
what I'm
gonna
gonna do.
try.
I will try. I will try my damnedest. But
You got to
what
homeschool then?
I actually, yes, I have thought about it. I have. But Rush for me, if anything, has been a history book because I don't know what Hillary said. I don't know about the crime bill. I don't, Joe Biden's crime bill. I don't know about Kamala Harris back in 2000. I don't know any of that shit. That wasn't my job. That wasn't what I did.
Saying Kamala is racist. You got to say Kamala, which is
Whatever. Kamala Harris, Biden, Joe, whatever. My point is, the guy was
see.
a
I didn't
history.
like Harris when she was in California. She was horrible, and I actually met her too at a it was a Craigslist like nonprofit boot camp kind of thing, or nonprofit boot camp sponsored by Craigslist or
Mm,
put on by Craigslist, and she was one of the speakers there.
mm.
And I met her, and she did not appreciate my questions I asked her.
I wouldn't
Oh,
appreciate your questions either because you are a very divisive figure.
I'm not divisive. I'm just to the point. You know.
But that's what Rush was for me, and I
So
was,
is it too soon for this?
yeah, I wouldn't say that's too soon. I think what you said earlier was too soon, but that's not too soon.
The big cancellation, the great cancellation,
Yes, because he wasn't canceled. He wasn't,
show's canceled.
well, it actually wasn't. The funny thing was, so if you listen to Rush regularly, like I do, I usually listen to Rush like on my commutes. Um, Rush had been going through chemo, so Rush had like a lot of guests on. So he would do his chemo, and then he would take off for like 2 or 3 days, and then he would have like this British guy come on. I think his name was like Mark Stein, or he would have this other guy come on. He even had like,
Anyhow,
well, what I'm saying is like you didn't know that, right? Like even on the news, they hadn't announced that Rush was dead. So when I was listening to the show, I was listening to a guy talk, right? A guy that they had fill in for him. Then they went to a commercial break, and then they came back and they had Rush talking. They had like Rush talking, like actual Rush talking. But the thing is, like, it took me a minute to realize that this was like a past broadcast, right? And then there's times when he has these guest broadcasters that the past broadcaster, like, they'll say, yeah, when we come back, we'll hear what Rush said about this, and they'll do that. And so I'm listening to this, and I'm like, okay, right, okay, yeah, okay. And it took me, oh, okay, this is in the past. And then all of a sudden, they basically, so with the dear passing of Rush Limbaugh, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, wait, he died? He's gone? He's he's not coming back? And I'm not gonna say like, oh, this shock, it hit me. It didn't hit me like that. It hit me like I had to wait for the radio commercial to come on, and then they have in between it, they have like the NBC radio news come on, and then they, Rush Limbaugh has passed away this morning at the age of 70. His wife confirms, and then his wife comes on and says something, and then they go to the other news, right? And I was just like, wow, dude. Like, for one, I feel bad because I didn't listen to him that long. I listened to this guy for 2 years. And for two, I always wanted to call up on the Rush Limbaugh show. I always wanted to like give my spill, like something. I can't. But the fact that we live in a society where here's the funny thing. So for those of you watching right now, Me and
All six of you.
me and Darian have been having like a friendly spat on Twitter. I don't think anybody caught on to us yet. So if you don't know Darian's Twitter, you don't know mine, then cool. Because then, but like we actually had like a little tit for tat on Twitter, which I find hilarious because this guy tweets all fucking day. Okay, but the fact that Darian and I can disagree on something as simple as taxes, because that's what the disagreement was about,
Because
and
they're theft, or more accurately, distortion or extortion.
and then I could get on here and I could do a podcast with this motherfucker. Like that's how it should be. I mean, you don't
By
have.
the way, speaking of, you might want to delete the last one, because if the Twitter censors ever go through, they might see that and take it as a real threat. And
What did I say?
you said something. If I was sitting next to you, I'd stab you or something like that.
Oh, I did say that.
And
I did say that. But no, I said more than that. I didn't just say I would stab you. I said I would stab you, but I love you. I said something to that extent. I said like
yes, but still, dude, I got suspended for somebody posted one of those fuck Mary kill things, and I don't even remember who the people were. It was like Hillary Clinton. I don't know, but I think Hillary Clinton was in anyhow. And I was just like, isn't the option, where's the option of kill self or something like that? And I got suspended for that.
for suggesting you would suicide yourself.
Yes.
If
And that was
I
the only
if
suspension I got. Otherwise, I could be one of their fucking Twitter rats that what was it? The new thing that they're doing to fact checking.
I don't see a lot of fact checks since I really don't. Since the election happened, I don't see a lot of fact checks. I'll be straight up honest with you, but original topic. This guy is kind of fucking crazy. This guy over here, I can't even point because my fucking dude. That guy right there. He's we agree on some things, we disagree on some things, but the fact that we do and we can get on here and chop it up is just amazing. But the fact
It's
that
okay. Once I'm allowed, given permission by our overlords to have my own farm in the country and be left the fuck alone and no longer taxed, I'll allow you to visit. You can still come and visit and hang out.
I would totally well, things are a little bit complicated now, but the fact that that people celebrate the fact that somebody died is just like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Like,
and Twitter. Twitter isn't the greatest of examples. It's kind of a petri dish of just vitriol and
it's
hatred.
a barometer. It's not. It's plus or minus 10%, man. Well, you say but I want you to think of like Twitter is ran by the left, the far left, and a lot of those people that have the blue check marks are left or far left, and the people that fucking subsequently believe everything they say, are lefties, far lefties too. Not to say there's anything wrong with being a lefty, but what I'm saying is, even though Twitter is the Twitter sphere, it is a majority representative of the left than it is the right. So if Obama died tomorrow, if Joe Biden died tomorrow, if some
Joe Biden dying tomorrow would be one of the most horrible things to happen because reasons.
But I think the only here's the funny part. The only thing that we would agree on that we could maybe respectfully we were like, well, this person died, they led an okay life. We didn't say they had okay policies, okay ideals. They led an okay life. If this person passed away, like, the amount of vitriol you would get from the right side would be significantly lower, not only because the representation is lower, just because it seems like at least the middle ground, like libertarianism and conservatism, like, at least we have respect for the dead, even if even the worst guy that I've ever had in real life that I've hated or I've disliked, if they died, I would be like, you know what? I'm happy Darian died. Fuck that guy. Like, you wouldn't hear that from me. I'd just be like, inside, I might be happy as hell. Thank God I can do my own podcast. Like, fuck that guy. You wouldn't hear that like vocally, and that does say something for your character. So people celebrating Rush Limbaugh passing away at 70 on Ash Wednesday, very significant, by the way. That in itself just speaks to what we are up against as individuals that wish to remain American, wish to keep our constitutional rights, wish to keep our right to speech, right to guns, right to vote, right for our fucking votes to count. I mean, the list goes on. It's just it's indicative of where this country's going if we don't do something about it. Speaking of Rush passing, did you see the letter that President Trump wrote to the media about Mitch McConnell?
I did not.
Well, in your free time, check it out. I know you weren't like on the Trump train. I know there was a lot of things that Trump did you felt were good and some things you thought were bad, or maybe a lot of things, but it was a very good letter. As you know, the former President Trump was acquitted for insurrection for the second time. The second time, 2 times impeached, acquitted twice. Give me a rundown on what your thoughts were.
Of the impeachment? Thoughts on what? I think that was a clown show.
Open-ended question.
I think the whole thing is a clown show. I think we need to defund Washington, D.C.
Why was it a clown show?
Because there's no reason to do it. He was out of office. They're just trying to do it to hide other shit going on and hope that it would get more media coverage, to conceal like all the crap they're trying to stuff into the next stimulus bill and or gun control measures they're trying to push. It's them being dumb and wasting our time and taxpayer money. And now they're going to have a commission to examine, like a 9/11 style commission to examine what led up to that. And it's just wasting more of our stolen money. And they all need to go, all of them. And now, like, okay, well, even though he wasn't convicted, we're going to introduce this bill to prohibit people who were twice impeached from being able to be buried at Arlington. But you know what? If they do that, watch this. Next time they're going to like, okay, well, we'll impeach Bill Clinton again. When the Republicans have the House, okay, we'll impeach Bill Clinton again. Mm-hmm. Because you can be impeached for anything.
At this point, anything.
Well, not at this point. There's no legal restrictions on what you can impeach for. The conviction has to be based on, what was it? Certain standards. There's certain standards on conviction. But
there's really no certain standard. It's just you got to get conviction. 67 people to agree that this person is bad, or they don't like him or her.
Yes. However, they are supposed to convict based on these certain standards of what high crimes and misdemeanors. But impeachment, they can impeach for just about anything. Oh well, he farted and in the whatever briefing room, so we don't like that. Or he cropped us when he walks by our wing. They can impeach for anything. It's the conviction that has more of a standard. So yeah, okay, great. Listen, by definition, he has not been convicted of anything, so they're going to bar his burial at Arlington. You got to convict people to have punishments.
You know what upset me the most about when they passed it down, I was just like, oh, it's fucking crazy, Nancy. I think one thing Trump has done is he's given us those nicknames or those nomenclatures that we need for certain people. So crazy.
I use Nancy. Stupid for all of them.
Well, whatever, man. But like
stupid politician,
Sleepy Joe, Crazy Nancy. That being said, it didn't piss me off, and all right. Okay, so they impeached him. They sent it over, and it was dead on arrival. They basically voted to see if it was constitutional, right? And the Constitution doesn't overtly state that you can't impeach somebody, but when you look at the uh, the punishment that is handed down from being convicted on an impeachment is basically like removed from office and barred from further service. So if the guy is no longer the president, being barred from office is out the window, and further
Well,
on,
they don't they don't want him to run again, and they know he's going to run again. And I think him running again is going to split the Republican Party and have another Joe Biden additional 4 years.
well, we'll see. But what pissed me off the most was that I recently got back on Facebook. Not I don't post shit. I just sit there and I people watch. That's what I do. Hey, there's a photo. I like it. But I saw a lot of people that were just so upset with the fact that there weren't 17 Republicans. And what upset me was, for one, they're Americans, right? So if you're an American, one of the things you should value as an American is like the whole judicial process involved with a criminal being prosecuted. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and there's certain things that are allowed as evidence and certain things that are thrown out. And these people,
The thing is, it was a clown show from
No,
the get go. We can leave it at that, because there were no witnesses called at the initial hearing. They had basically a struggle session of politicians whining about being scared, and claiming to have like
that was outside.
protesters.
That was outside. That was
Claiming to
before
have
the
protesters knocking on their doors, and they're all gonna die, and whatever.
Which we said in an earlier episode, that was like the weakest insurrection ever. If you were gonna insurrect the government, wouldn't you bring weapons?
And they contradict themselves by saying, "Oh, this has been planned for months." Well, then that speech Trump gave did not incite anything.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly. Well, he had been inciting him for months and months, and blah blah blah, and
they were trying to impeach this guy before he got in the office, and they were going to fight. And they were going to impeach before the guy even took the oath. So it's like you can't have it both ways. Logically speaking, you can't say this man was inciting when it was before, and he said the word fight, and then you go back and you look at Chuck Schumer talking about fighting. You look at Nancy Pelosi talking about fighting. You look at Maxine Waters talking about fighting, and basically getting in people's face. You look at Kamala Harris talking about these people are going to fight and they're going to do this, and then set up bail money for people rioting and burning down cities.
And you know what? And that's why they didn't call witnesses.
That's why they didn't.
If they called witnesses, then all those people would have been subpoenaed. And frankly, I really wish they did.
I did too.
I wish they had called witnesses, and then they could have put each one of them under the microscope for what they said, what they did or didn't know. Nancy Pelosi would have taken
under oath. So later on, they'd be thrown in prison, hopefully.
Of course not,
but hopefully. That's why I said hopefully. But
one politician? Yeah, well, I guess I can think of one now. That Mayor Blagojevich, the former Chicago mayor.
Oh yeah. What about him?
I was going to say name one politician that's actually been thrown in jail.
Yeah. That was one.
That was the only one I can think of, though.
But yeah, dude, what made me upset was not the politicians. It was the American citizens, people that I have known growing up, that were like, "Well, these Republican senators, I'm ashamed of them." And it's like, why are you ashamed of them? Why? And you continue reading, and it was like, well, they didn't vote to convict. And I was like, first of all, it was unconstitutional. So let me ask you, private citizen with constitutional rights, do you only want the constitutional rights to apply when it's necessary for you, or do you want them to always apply for everybody, anytime, anywhere? And having due process, having certain legal rights afforded to you, like before the impeachment began, the Leahy guy from Vermont said, "We invite you to testify, former President Trump, and if you don't, because you're not going to, basically, that will reflect as somewhat of an admission of guilt. But there's a constitutional right to not fucking incriminate yourself, right? Isn't it that?
Well, and that's what he was suggesting, is that if Trump didn't testify, that he would take it. He would assume he's taking the fifth, and therefore,
So one, it
see
was
it as you will.
it was unconstitutional. The man was already out of office. He was a private citizen by the time the Senate. And the thing was, they snapped that shit. They had the majority in the House. They had those rhino Republicans. Nancy Pelosi sat on that shit. Why she sat on that shit, I don't know. I think we'll find out later. Maybe the conspiracy theorist in me tells me something was up. I have other ideals. We probably don't have time for that. But she sat on it, sent it to the Senate, and by that time, Trump was out of office. And the Senate voted as to whether or not what they were doing was good based on the Constitution. And you had I think it was a 57, or it was a 56-44 split, right? Because you have 50 Republicans, you have 48 Democrats, and 2 independents in there. Bernie, your boy Bernie being one of them. Kidding. But so they impeached a citizen, a private citizen. Then they turn around and they essentially, I'm getting so flustered because this just fucking boggles my mind. They turn around and they, help me out here, Darian. Brain
Did
fart.
their normal dumb circus stuff, brought
Well,
out the clowns, and
Yes. But they asked the guy to incriminate himself. He said he wasn't going to incriminate himself, and thus
they wanted him to testify because he was going to be full of bluster and rhetoric like he usually is, and they're hoping to get something that they could jump on him later.
But they said it was going to be a presumption of guilt.
It's just one dipshit saying that.
Here's the one thing. So the Supreme Court justice, basically said he was going to sit this one out. So he was the only one that was like, yeah, this is kind of unconstitutional. You can't do this. And the Constitution...
He specifically did not weigh on the constitutionality of it.
Well, no, he didn't.
But
he didn't.
Because he did. And he said, but because he's not in office, I am not required to preside over this, so he's not going to.
Wait, so what did he say?
He said because Trump was not in office, he was not required to preside over it, so he was not going to do so. But he specifically did not weigh in on the constitutionality of it.
He didn't. Okay, so maybe he had a feeling maybe he didn't like Trump, but he didn't weigh in because Trump wasn't a president. So they appoint a guy that has already said that if you don't show up to your own trial, we will presume that there's guilt, not innocence, which isn't how the justice system is founded on. I mean, we're going back to like pre-Revolutionary War days at this point. So during the trial, if you remember, like it was only like a week ago, they have...
Dude, I don't follow any of this shit anymore.
Okay.
I give zero fucks.
I know. But let me just put it out there. So they fabricated blue check marks on regular Twitter posters to emphasize the importance of what these people were. It would be like if you tweeted something about the MAGA march in January 6th, and they put a blue Twitter check mark next to it, and they emphasized how important you felt about Trump. That's one thing they did. They fabricated that. They changed the years on some of these tweets. They like changed the date and the year to make the tweet more relevant for their evidence. And then they turn around and they took Trump's speech. They even took Trump's speech out of Georgia. The Georgia runoffs occurred way after the fact. So
Trump, what are we talking about? The whole thing was a clown show. We all know it. It was a joke.
No, it was. I'm just saying, like, how upset I am. Like, they fabricated evidence. They executed something unconstitutionally, and illegally. They said if you don't show up to the trial, if you don't show up to this impeachment, then
they didn't. One dipshit did.
And you had several people saying they were already going to vote to convict. I don't have a list in front of me, but you had people saying
prior to seeing any evidence or hearing anything. I know it was a clown show.
It was a
That's
clown
all
show.
it is. That's all you can say about it. It was a joke. It's a circus. It was designed to distract us. It was a waste of time and a waste of the money stolen from us.
I
Because
agree.
taxation is theft.
Dude, we are going to have a podcast on that, I swear to God. Until then,
Okay, you're right. Taxation is not theft. Taxation is extortion,
sure, I'll buy that. I like that.
which is a kind of theft.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, it was.
Yeah,
But what pissed me? I'm sorry. What pissed me off the most was regular American citizens mad because Trump wasn't convicted, and it's like if you can ignore the fabrication of evidence, if you can
I've been
ignore.
trying to politely pause this for the last 5 minutes now. So I'm going to get up and go. I'll be back in 5.
All right. So what I was gonna say is
No, we're going away. So pause. I'm not.
and now we're back. Yes. Okay. So my point is, you have rights as
What
a.
is your point, Jake?
God damn it! Where's my phone? I will fucking censor you on fucking Twitter. God damn it! Fucking you suck my dick. I will stab you. And God damn it! My point is, Jesus. You as a private citizen have all these rights afforded to you by the Constitution. Facts, yes. And the fact that people are so fucking deranged with their Trump derangement syndrome, they don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about not incriminating yourself. They don't
The
care
politicians
about
have
not
stopped caring about
not the
the Constitution years
politicians,
ago.
the private citizens.
People have stopped caring about the Constitution
Yes,
years ago.
exactly. These are the same people that will fucking they will give up their liberties for security, which we know where
These
that
are the
fucking
same people. These are the same people allowed to vote.
they're allowed to vote, and they don't realize until the fucking gun is pointed at their head, and you are guilty. It's like, whoa, I have rights. No, when you fucking denied that man his rights, you denied the next man and the next woman, and now here we are to you. So guess what? You will testify against yourself or you are guilty. And guess what? The prosecution is going to make up fucking evidence showing that you are guilty of this crime. And so you have all these people on fucking Facebook that are so goddamn mad because they don't like Trump for fucking reasons that they're willing to fucking whatever is necessary. Fuck that guy by any. But dude, 20 years from now when the gun is pointed at their head, they will be like, how did this happen? It happened because you let it happen to someone you didn't fucking like. That's how it fucking happened.
They did recently rule that in border crossings, searching your phone without a warrant and making a backup of it is legal.
I'm not tracking that. I'm not hip on the border news, but I'm not upset about the impeachment. I am more upset about private citizens that are like, fuck this guy, any means necessary. And it's like, dude, those are your rights too. Those are your rights. You have to take a stand. Just like when we talk about free speech, Darian. I may not agree with you. I may think you're totally wrong. I may think in fact I may know you're lying and you're a conspiracy theorist. But if I don't allow you to voice your opinion as an American and I become the moral arbiter of fucking free speech, then at some point I will be silenced and I'll be like, where are my rights? And it's like, you know where your rights were? They were over there when you silenced that guy and that guy and that guy and yes, that girl and that other girl and whatever. Whoever you silence, this is where you are today. Because you are too fucking blind by your rage and hate for someone that you don't like. And at the end of the day, I don't fucking like Darian. I mean, I do. But he may say some stupid shit. I may say some stupid shit by his means, but I gotta let him talk. I gotta let him have his peace. I gotta let a dude have his constitutional rights because I want my rights. And just because they don't apply to you right now, doesn't it mean that they won't apply to you 10 years down the road or to your wife or your kids 10 years, 20 years down the road. And that's what makes me so mad. And thank God that, I just have the ability to like just click on the little X right there on the Chrome, on the Internet Explorer, just click it and close it and fucking go do something else. But dude, the fact that American citizens, not politicians, can sit there and deny a man a constitutional rights, uh, a jury of his own peers, as in people that aren't influenced by what is going on, people that aren't going to fucking vote to convict before any evidence is heard. The fact that they're going to incriminate this guy based on the fact he doesn't testify. The fact that they're
Not
going
they, one individual.
the fact that they're going to fabricate evidence. The fact that it is a fucking
Well,
clown show.
the one good thing, I'll say this, one good thing that came out of that was the prosecution having to actually admit that no, the police officer wasn't bashed in the head by a protester, or with a fire extinguisher by a protester. So I suspect that it's eventually going to come out that yes, he actually had, they're going to admit he had a stroke back at the office later that night.
Either way, it's tragic, but
They're also had to admit that no, the zip tie guy didn't actually bring zip ties in with the intent to execute people or hold people hostage. He picked them up off a table that were left there by the Capitol Police. I wonder why. And so on. So that's one good thing that came out of the impeachment trial, is that they had to admit a lot of the narrative that had been being pushed about the violent uprising or insurgents or whatever.
insurrection, yeah.
Insurrection.
I just
So,
I
and
am
the thing is, there's some very serious legal ramifications to insurrection,
there are.
and that's why they keep using that word. I mean, that is one of the few things that the president can declare a national emergency due to an insurrection, and then suspend habeas corpus and just scoop people up off the streets, throw them into dark cells, send Americans to Guantanamo, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I like I said,
that is why they're calling that movement insurrection, is because it has power.
Such
and
a
if it's
serious
stuck in your
charge.
head, if it's stuck in people's head, insurrection, they keep repeating it long enough, you'll just
Yes.
believe in your head and
Yes.
call it insurrection.
Yes.
Then when they use insurrection as a means for other things, when they use the term insurrection,
On something lighter, something way lighter, then you will
well, just
think.
they could say, well, these people, these right-wing protesters are participating in insurrection. We are now suspending, declaring a national emergency, suspending habeas corpus, blah blah blah, and so on. That's why insurrection, that specific word, is being used, because there is a legal definition and a legal procedures that are allowed within that dome.
No, it's a very good explanation. Like I said, I'm not upset that I already know who Nancy Pelosi is. I already know who Chuck Schumer is. I know who Mitch McConnell is. I already know who those people are. Those establishment politicians, they don't even make me mad anymore. They like, there's a tier here because those people continue to remain in office and people continue to vote for them. What upsets me the most, what infuriates me, is the fact that private American citizens hate Trump so badly. And mind you, I'm not bullshitting you, Darian. These are the same people that are totally cool with being locked down, wearing a mask, being a fucking sheep, being a pawn to the government, because they feel like the government's going to protect them. And we all know how this plays out. But the fact that they will convict a guy, they will be upset that the guy is not convicted based off of nothing. Nothing. We have already named 4 reasons why this shouldn't have happened. As you said, it was a clown show, but to be specific, the man wasn't given constitutional rights, and you hate him that much, you're going to turn a blind eye to this man's rights. And then when the gun is eventually pointed at you or someone you love or your fucking family, that's when you're going to care, and it's too late. And that's what saddens me the most. I could never think of, in my short, less than 4 decades of existence, I can't think of somebody else that has been that scrutinized, that divisive, if you want to use the term. I don't think the man is that divisive. I just think he says mean things on Twitter. I quit giving a fuck what people thought about me almost 20 years ago, and my life has been a lot better since then. So, I understand you want to get off this. That's what I'm saying. I agree with everything you said. It saddens me that people older than me, people with more experience in life, I would think, have gone to
People
this
are
means.
sheep.
Yeah.
They do what they're told.
And I don't like everything that former president has done. I will full
They need to
disclosure.
listen to more Rage Against the Machine.
I didn't vote for him the first election. I did the second one. Full disclosure. But if you can deny someone a constitutional right, then I can deny you your constitutional right. So you know what? Just leave your name in the comment block and tell me what your address is, and I'll come take your guns, or what have you. Like, if that's how you really feel, that you hate someone so much, you can deny their human rights, God-given, creator, whatever rights you feel to deem constitutional rights, then you know what? Fuck you, and then give up your rights, because slaves, whites, blacks, fucking Hispanics, Asians, whatever, dude. Everybody has fucking rights in this country. How dare you sit there and deny?
Oh, we're gonna start that again. Rights exist.
Yes,
Natural rights exist across the board, whether you're in the United States or not.
That's not what
it's
I'm
whether
starting.
The country infringes on them.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, in this sense, we both agree that if you're, you know what, you want to take away this guy's rights, then we'll take away your rights. Like, if that's how you feel about it. But yeah, man, it just made me really sad, and the more I thought about it, I got angry, and then I got angry, and then I just realized how sad things are. That's the snowflake in me. I'm just so sad that people would do this. Hell, even Hillary Clinton's not in jail. Fucking Hillary Clinton.
Another promise broken by Trump.
Oh God. You are right about that. That was great.
We're gonna send her to jail, my ass.
No, that's not what he said. What she said is, oh man, we have to pull the clip up, but that's not what he said. He basically said, because if I was, basically, Trump will never be president.
That's okay.
Because
I don't care what he says.
Trump will never be president because of this and this and this. And he said, yeah, because if I was, you'd be in jail. That's essentially what he said. And that was, if anything, I think you could admit that was hilarious. Hilarious.
Oh, I personally think a lot of the politicians should be locked up.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Not offhand.
Not offhand. Shout out to our fans. Thank you very much for tuning in, listening to
all 6 of you. We do this for you.
We do it for you. I mean, we could be at home petting our cats.
To be perfectly honest, you know what? I'm going to be blunt. To be honest, I don't do this for you. I do this because I like sitting here chatting with Jake in this kind of free form, just chatting about anything and everything. Having a podcast requires him to sit down and listen to my babble for at least an hour. So, but I do still appreciate you.
It gives me the opportunity to drink more because I have to deal with this bullshit.
Why make you an alcoholic?
Why are you coming down all tipsy? Yo, you wouldn't believe some of the shit Darian said today. Real talk though, like we disagree on a lot of things. We agree on a lot of things. We still fucking chop it up. We still fucking play games together. We still pseudo kill each other on Twitter. That's kind of how it should be. I mean, family members especially. If you have family members,
remember the good old days, like in elementary school, you'd get in a fight,
yes,
beat each other up, then you'd get up and you'd go have like a Slurpee or have sandwiches at one of the kids' mom's house.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure, dude, for sure, 100%. I don't know where those days went, but I sure as hell miss being an 80s/90s kid. I really do.
I honestly think that kind of youth makes for a better human when you're older.
I totally
So you
agree.
get in a fight and you still act like respectable humans to each other.
I do. I totally agree with you on that. I don't see anything wrong with it. You got your ass kicked. whether it was physically or verbally, and you either
No, see,
respect
the
that.
physical aspect's important because, nowadays on the internet, there's, no physical fights and stuff in school or whatever, so people are all talk. A
Mm.
lot of these people talking out their ass and saying certain things obviously have never been punched in the nose.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not
it's
advocating violence, but I do think, no, I guess I am. I'm not advocating violence, violent responses to people for online interactions or whatever. I'm not advocating anyone go out and yada 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 lawyer stuff. But I do think that growing up in a time where it was considered normal, I guess, that every once in a while kids would get into fights is better for our mental health and everything, just are better for our society because
well,
you grow up realizing that what you do
there are
has
consequences.
exactly
Yeah,
exactly
that's one. The one thing is there are consequences, and for two, the other aspect of that is that bad things will happen, and as anything evident in children like an injury, children with mental, like maybe something like abuse, like mental abuse, physical abuse, maybe even sexual abuse. um, Research has shown that like children tend to recover from that shit. Like just imagine if you lived an astute life, and all of a sudden somebody just came and like did something terrible to you, whatever it was, and you would never experience any of that in your life, and you're in your mid 30s. So to you, that is the greatest thing in the world that has ever happened. And a lot of the times, people will crumble because of that. Because for one, it's hard to it's harder to recover when you're older, and for two, you don't have any experience. So if nothing bad has ever happened, you never lost a t-ball game, you never lost a debate, you were never punched in the nose. Nobody ever told your mama jokes to you and made you. I'm not saying there's a borderline between abusive and like what's the term I'm looking for? Like I don't want to say progressive, but like something that builds you up. Because the whole point of life in general is life is going to knock you down one way or another. You're going to lose your job. Somebody you love is going to die. Somebody that you're dating
here
is going to leave
to
you.
simplify this for you. Let's use an analogy of a tree. You have a sapling. If you put all these supports up around it all the time, it's going to grow up weak. You have a little bit of support, and then you take away that support, it grows up strong.
You need a little bit of adversity in your life to build character and strength. That's just and just keep that in mind. Um, Everybody needs a little bit of reality, and the sooner you get it, the better. It sucks, and then you grow up, and then you realize that sometimes shit that you thought was shit isn't really shit. And that's why I don't give a fuck what Darian thinks about me. You know why?
He
Because
doesn't.
he doesn't fuck me. He doesn't sign my check. I
Not
don't.
anymore. God, since you stopped putting out.
He doesn't fuck me, and he doesn't sign my check. So I don't care what he thinks. I really don't. Like I in reality, he's my friend. I respect his opinions. Sometimes he can bring me to his side. I've had to bring him to my side because he's just obstinate and hard minded as fuck. And but he's almost like
If you
80
made
now,
better
so
points,
I don't have to make better points. Go follow him on the tweet space. Follow me on the tweet space and watch us like attack each other, pseudo attack each other. But yeah, man, y'all hang in there. It's gonna be a rough year, and we're only in February. Ugh.
oh
Um,
yeah, don't forget to double mask now.
Double mask, triple mask. Give us the
6 feet of masks.
give us the final word, dearest Darian.
Um, Congress is a clown show. They pretty much all should be arrested / impeached / uh, just out of the office.
Forward
I,
slash,
I, I,
right?
I was about to say something, but that could have been misinterpreted.
Exactly.
So I had that pause there. But yes, Congress is a clown show. There's all is a circus. Um, you are all just sheep. They look at us as sheep, and who's going to control us, and so on and so forth. So don't be controlled. Think for yourself, and never forget that taxation is theft.
All right, Darian, thank you very much. And with that, we will conclude our show. We will be broadcasting again this weekend on the basis of taxation is theft and all that other nonsense. But
Nonsense. Okay, you're right. Taxation is extortion.
thank
To be
you.
more accurate. To be more
Extortion.
accurate, but
Yes.
extortion is still a type of theft.
It is a type of theft, sure. But with that being said, I'm Jake.
I'm Drake.
And this is the Jake and Drake show. And we'll see you guys Sunday. Extortion is theft.